Well, it's that time of the year. The end of the year, close to the end of the year, and usually around this time is when a lot of us are thinking about what are we going to do with our coming year. It's almost at the end of 2024 now. So 2025 is on a lot of people's mind. Planning, goals, vision, and so forth. And it's also around this time of the year, and it'll be also in January, that I'll begin to get an influx of men looking for coaching. Currently, right now, as of today, the only format that I have coaching available for is one-on-one, and that's usually cost prohibitive for most people. However, invariably in my conversations with men who maybe it's cost prohibitive to work with me one-on-one, I'm asked, what resources would you point me to that I could maybe use or work on in the interim. And there's two resources that I recommend often to men as things that they can go avail themselves of that cost little to no money, and frameworks, methodology that they can then use to take their life to the next level. And those two things are, one, go do 75 hard. I've done it 5 times now, 5 or 6 times now, and I now do it as an annual thing. And if you don't know what 75 hard is, it's 5 things that you do every single day for 75 days in a row. And if you miss any one of them on any day, you have to restart the entire 75 days. One of the byproducts of the program is that you will probably end up getting into really great physical shape. The actual focus of the program is to build mental toughness. And I want to say this. So often I hear from people, men, I don't care if a woman says this or not because I don't coach women, but I hear from men all the time. Oh, I modified it a little bit to kind of fit with what I'm doing. And I'm doing it now. It's like a 75 medium. So let me explain something to you. If I point you to a program, if I point you to a resource and tell you, do this, do that, and then you modify it to what you think you need, just understand that you don't have the results that you want. And then when somebody tells you how to go about starting to get them, and you modify that solution, you're using the same mind that is already not getting the results that you want to now make decisions on how to modify a program as if you knew what to do to get the result. Do you understand? In the last 2 weeks, I've had no less than 5 conversations via email, via DMs with men who said, can't afford your one-on-one right now, and at this time I don't have a lower ticket group coaching program. And in every instance, I recommended them 75 hard because they all asked, what could I do in the interim? And then a couple of them, I recommended an additional thing, and I'll show that to you in a second. And 3 of them got back to me and said, yeah, I'm started 75 hard. And 3 of them said, modified it. I haven't responded to them one-on-one. If you guys are watching this video, you know who I'm talking about. What are you doing modifying something that I'm telling you works? This drives me nuts. It's like this happens in my one-on-one coaching too. I will lay out a plan for a man based upon what he told me his goals are. I tell him what to do, how to go about it, and then he tries to negotiate with me on what the structure should be. This is why you don't have the results that you want. You think you're smart, you're clever, you don't submit to the process. I have met men, and before you try to give me any of your excuses about why you can't do 75 hard the way it's laid out, I don't care what you tell me. I know men who had 2 kids and a newborn who've done 75 hard. I know men who who worked 2 jobs at the same time and done 75 hard. there isn't a single excuse for you that you can give me that qualifies. Anybody and everybody can do 75 hard, short of not having the physical capacity to move. The second resource is the 12-week year. I've gifted this book to so many people. I constantly recommend it. I touch on principles from this book regularly. It's a very simple book, and the subtitle is Get More Done in 12 Weeks Than Others Do in 12 Months. And this is something that once I started implementing this into my life, it had an incredibly powerful impact. And in my one-on-one coaching, this is a part of the formula that I work with men on in terms of how we go after goals. Is I don't manage things with clients on a yearly basis. I ask what the annual goals are. We pick the 1 to 2 that are the most important. And then whatever the annual goal was to accomplish in 12 months, we then set out on a plan to accomplish that 12-month goal in 12 weeks. I do that for multiple reasons. One is that you don't know what you don't know about getting to your goal, because by default, you don't have the goal, you don't have the outcome. So by default, there's things you don't know. And the faster you move towards that goal the more intensity and intention with which you move towards your goal, the faster you'll discover what it is that you don't know so that you can overcome it, solve for it quicker, and reach escape velocity faster. Most of us the men that I come across who aren't constantly crushing it and winning and in that kind of momentum, you all underestimate the amount of energy that it was going to take to get that metaphorical airplane off the ground. And with going after big goals, you have to get it to escape velocity. You have to go from where you're at to like dramatic change, big elevation, teeny, tiny. It can take forever to try to get something to a point where you want it to be. So you have to bring, what I found works a lot better is to bring a burn the boats, do or die, back up against the wall kind of intensity to a very crystal clear goal, and then dramatically shorten the timeline. And again, this book is an absolute solid primer on basically how to do a 12-week year, okay? For me, in my one-on-one work, I've combined principles of 12-week year with so many other things. And again, my job as a coach and part of my job as a coach is to know exactly what the goals are of my client, what is his goals for him personally, and then from my array of tools, frameworks, methodologies, and systems, I only pull out exactly what it is that I know can help that man, you, get to your goal, right? I don't need to give you 101 things. I need to give you the 2 to 3 things that you need to get to your goal. But in general, as blanket counsel or advice, I feel comfortable with recommending doing 75 hard to all men, regardless of what your goals are. Because what 75 hard will do for you, this is what I believe 75 hard fundamentally does for a man. I have this thought in my life, this recurring principle that I think of often. There's 2 kinds of men in this world. There's the kind of men that they constantly are revolving around and dealing with and reacting to life circumstances, problems, challenges, etc. And then there's men that the world revolves around. And the thing is that most men are the first kind of guy. And the good news is that any man, to my knowledge, can become the second kind of man, where the world revolves around you. Not in the sense of an egotistical way, though that can be a factor, but in the sense of you simply effect your will upon the world, and you are constantly crushing creating, winning, building, conquering, whatever adjective you want to throw at it. 75 hard, from my perspective and my experience of doing it 5, 6 times now, and being committed to doing it now at least once a year, every year for the rest of my life. It is an excellent primer and program on teaching you the skills, the mindset, the habits of how to become a man where the world revolves around you. Why? The first time I did 75 hard, it was really hard. I was constantly scrambling to fit everything into every day, but I did it. By the third or fourth time that I did 75 hard, my entire life revolves around 75 hard when I'm doing it. Like, it's not like I try to fit 75 hard in. It's, I am 75 hard, and now everything else in my life fits in around it. And what that did for me, and it does for men who understand this approach and use 75 hard for this, is that it shows you exactly what kind of mental battles you're going to have to face, and what kind of skills you have to build, what kind of things you have to overcome to stop being the kind of guy that's always trying to fit into life and reactive to everything, and instead become the kind of guy that says, no, I am effecting my will into this world. I'm moving in life on my program. Does that make sense? Becoming the second kind of guy. So the good news is that first kind of guy can become the second kind of guy. The bad news is that it's going to require everything you've got. You're going to have to lose the guy you are now to become the guy you could be. It's going to take a lot of hard work. That's the bad news. But it's also good news once you get to the other side. The additional good news is that 75 hard is simple and yet ruthlessly effective and brilliant at helping you to transform into being the second kind of guy. Okay? And then the 12-week year, what it will do is it will give you an ongoing execution and implementation plan on how to turn whatever goals you have. It'll give you a framework on how to plan out actually bringing them into reality. I would go so far as to say that if you don't have some kind of programmatic framework that you use to map out how you're going to get to creating your goals and desires, like 12-week year, then you're just kidding yourself. You're fantasizing, but you're fantasizing, but you're delusional. You're not going to actually create the outcomes you want without some sort of an implementation framework, some sort of programming and process that you're going to follow. Right? If your dreams and your goals and desires are a train, then an implementation framework like this is the train tracks. Okay? That the train will move down. So these are 2 free resources. Well, the 12-week year is the cost of the book. 75 hard is free. You can just go Google it and find what it is. I believe it's episode 208 on the Real AF podcast. Andy Frisell is the creator of the 75 Hard program. So the information on 75 Hard is free to find. There's also an app for it if you want to use it to track it. When you're doing it, 12-week year is the cost of the book. Whatever your goals and dreams and vision are, whatever they are, the core fundamentals that it's always going to come down to is your self-identity as a man, transforming your self-identity into being the man who has the goals, the desires, and the outcomes that you want. And you're going to have some kind of an implementation framework with accountability and structure, which is why those are 2 of about 4 to 5 things that I focus on with every single one of my coaching clients, right? Your goal could be to make a lot more money, right? Your goal could be physical fitness. Your goal could be rebuilding or building an executive team. Your goal could be becoming a better father. You could have all kinds of goals. The tactics and methodology to get to the outcome vary from goal to goal to goal. But Two of the things that never vary is the fact that your self-identity has to be aligned with and congruent with the version of yourself that has the outcome that you want, and you need an implementation framework. Those two things don't change. So therefore, these are two things that I can give as I feel comfortable and ethical in giving you as two universal prescriptions, if you will. Because I know across the board, they are the fundamentals, and you need the fundamentals before you do the one-off specific tactics, if that makes sense. And what I'll say in wrapping up is, if you take the 12-week year and modify it, if you take 75 hard and modify it, go look in the mirror. How long are you going to be the guy that tries to shortcut, who tries to modify, who tries to do it your way? Your way isn't working. If it was working, you wouldn't have your goals and dreams and desires would already be real. They'll already be there. I mean, do you get what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be insulting. This is one of the reasons why I'm so good at being a coach. I am ruthless in being honest and giving accountability. If your way worked, you wouldn't be talking to me. That's what I tell my clients. If your way worked, you wouldn't be talking to me. If your way worked, you wouldn't be working with me. If your way worked, you would have the outcomes that you say you want. So don't modify. Take these simple frameworks that have been proven by thousands and maybe tens of thousands of people at this point. Submit to the process. Okay? You and I, as clever as we think we are in our minds, and our little egos like to play, grand master, you and I are not cleverer and smarter than nature, than principles that govern the universe, the fundamentals. Okay? And when you take a framework or methodology that has been proven time and time again, and that is given to you as the pathway to your elevation, and you try to modify it, what you're trying to do is trying to say that you're smarter than principles. You're smarter than the laws that govern the universe. And how has clever worked out for you so far? Do you get what I'm saying? If you're trying to modify proven frameworks and pathways to a man's elevation, your elevation, then what you're doing right there, if you're willing to be honest with yourself, is you're displaying to yourself your true self-identity. That right there, this modification, the watering down, the adjusting it to your life, that's your self-identity at work right there. Showing you. Take a step back, look at it from third person. That's showing you exactly why you don't have the goals and the outcomes. I'll wrap up with this small little metaphor and example that I have shared easily. I've said it over 1,000 times in my life. And I'll say it one more time. And I'll say it yet 10,000 more times before I die. If there was a billionaire who came along and put $5 million into escrow, and the instructions to escrow were that if you did 75 hard, exactly the way 75 hard was mapped out, and you took the 12-week year and you will put one of your life goals on it and then follow the 12-week year exactly the way it's mapped out. If you did those 75 hard in the 12-week year for one life goal, and you just did that, at the end of the doing 75 hard and the 12-week year, escrow has to release that $5 million to you. Doesn't matter if you accomplish the goal in 12 weeks or not, right? All that it matters is that you did follow exactly how the 12-week year framework is mapped out. And that you followed 75 hard exactly how it's mapped out. Why? Because you have $5 million waiting for you. No modifications, just follow it exactly. And here's the thing. Every one of you guys who took 75 hard and modified it, there was $5 million waiting for you at the end. You would 100% have absolutely zero, make zero excuses. You would do anything and everything you needed to do to get to the 5 million. Here's the ironic part. Having that mindset in implementing and following 75 hard, 12-week year, and the principles and fundamentals that run the universe, that's exactly what is required of you to become the guy that unlocks millions of dollars in your life, unlocks incredible new opportunities, builds your dream life. You would do it 100% by hook or by crook, come hell or high water. Most of you would do it if $1 million was sitting in a bank account. 500,000, easy. $500,000 is more than enough. If some multimillionaire, decamillionaire put $500,000 in escrow, and all you had to do was follow 75 hard, exactly how it's laid out, you would 100% do it. There would be absolutely no chance you missed. And yet, ironically, $500,000 and so much more is waiting in results, income, opportunities for you if you start showing up and following the process exactly how it's laid out. And instead of modifying it, you allow it to modify you and destroy the weakness that's in you, remove what's holding you back so that all that's left is refined, a refined version of you, an elevated version of you, and you use the process to elevate. Think about that.